Good morning. Again, we're going to be looking at our inferencing skill. But as I let you know the other day, each day is going to be a little bit harder. Today's reading is going to be a little bit longer, a little bit harder. I'm going to go ahead and do this reading as a read aloud along with you. If you're prepared to go on and read it on your own, you can. And the questions are, of course, on the back side. So let's look at this article. Son, the athlete Simone Biles. Simone Biles redefines accomplishment. Are accomplishments measured strictly by external recognition, such as medals and trophies, or can they be realized by achieving something more personal? Olympic athlete Simone Biles has experienced considerable external praise throughout her gymnastics career. As she's grown into an all-star athlete, however, her personal growth has become all the more meaningful. Born in Columbus, Ohio on March 14, 1997, Biles was raised in Spring, Texas. Her early childhood was spent in and out of foster care until her maternal grandparents adopted her in 2003. That same year, on a daycare field trip to Bandon's Gymnastics, Biles, at just 6 years old, began imitating the gymnasts she saw on the beams and successfully executed a back tuck. The staff were stunned by the child's talent and suggested to her family that she should pursue gymnastics. Just 2 years later, Biles began training with her longtime coach, Amy Borman. Under Borman's tutelage, Biles' career took off. In 2011, she began her junior elite career in Houston, placing third all around. In 2013, at 16 years old, she started her senior elite career and made history as the first African-American woman to win the world's all-around title. She went on to compete in multiple international competitions over the years, garnering numerous acclaimed titles: first female gymnast to land the Uchencho double pike, the sport's most challenging vault, the first female in over 6 decades to win 5 gold medals, and finally in 2020, Biles tied with Shannon Miller to be the most decorated U.S. female gymnast ever, holding 32 world and Olympic medals. Despite these outstanding physical accomplishments, Biles has also experienced immense hardships. In 2018, she told the world that she had been abused during her training. Although it was difficult for her to share her story, Biles spoke out against her abuser to protect other athletes from experiencing the same trauma. She has even opened a gym of her own where young athletes can safely learn and grow in the sport. Between 2018 and 2021, Biles struggled with her mental health. At the 2021 Tokyo Summer Olympics, she experienced the twisties, a condition in which athletes struggle with the connection between their mind and their body. For an athlete doing such difficult physical tasks, the twisties can lead to mistakes with the potential to cause life-threatening injuries. After feeling this disconnect on the mat, Biles decided to withdraw from the competition for her own safety. While she faced much backlash from spectators who thought she should have pressed through, she also received praise for having set clear boundaries for herself and for honoring her well-being. Although there is no medal for such an act, Biles has said that prioritizing her mental health is one of her most important accomplishments so far. Now, pause this so that you can go ahead and answer your questions in the back. So this is Thursday, April 13th. Next week, we'll start our milestones testing. So today is the day that I want us to do some work to get back to our bullying PowerPoint, as well as to have some time for our reading of our novel. So we have our standards of the day, our what, why, and how. Again, we're talking about inferencing, drawing conclusions as we read literature and articles about real life events. So I'm going to be looking at the scoring rubric for that bullying PowerPoint. I said that there was some of you that did very good work. Everyone did some work. Some of it was very good, but I think we just need some refining. And I really blame myself because I like to provide students with the scoring rubric as you're working, so you can see what it is I want you to be working towards. What is the level I want to see if I say this is an A, B, or C. Okay, so you can kind of look at that rubric and you can figure out what grade you're going to get. And again, we'll go into the bully. We should be up to chapter 8 with the audio book that we'll do after I do a quick mini lesson about inferencing. So I'm going to read aloud to you once more with a story that I just love to share. It's called The Wig. Very short story. And then I'll talk about what I've inferenced from this kind of complicated but very short story. And then you'll have a chance to get to your reading and to the PowerPoint. So the graded scoring rubric, here's the full scoring rubric. You see there are 5 categories. So I want to see that you have the content about bullying, you have a decorated, interesting slideshow, you have animations to make it interesting to go through your slideshow, you have looked to make sure you don't have spelling and grammar errors, and then finally you have that reflection at the end, that clincher that kind of wraps it up and tells us a little bit about, well, what do you think now, and what do you think should be the next steps for schools and for parents that are concerned about bullying. Okay, so you'll have time to look that over in depth. So let's look at the story of The Wig. Again, I'll read The Wig aloud to you, and then I'll discuss the things that I have inferenced, things that are suggested, but they are not said directly to the reader. You have to kind of like use your detective skills to figure out and draw some conclusions. My 8-year-old son found a wig in the garbage dumpster this morning. I walked into the kitchen, highly irritated that I couldn't make a respectable knot in my green paisley tie, and there he was at the table, eating cereal and reading the funnies, the wig pulled tightly over his hair like a football helmet. The wig was a dirty bush of curly blonde hair, the kind you might see on a prostitute or someone who is trying to imitate Marilyn Monroe. I asked him where he got the wig, and he told me, his mouth full of cereal. When I advised him that we do not wear things that we find in the garbage, he simply continued eating and reading as if he didn't hear me. I wanted him to take that wig off, but I couldn't ask him to do it. I forgot all about my tie and going to work. I looked out the window where a mist fell slowly on the street. I paced into the living room and back, trying hard not to look at my son. He ignored me. I could hear him munching cereal and rustling paper. There was a picture or a memory, real or imagined, that I couldn't get out of my mind. Last spring, before the accident, my wife was sitting in the chair where now my son always sits. She was reading the paper to see how the Blackhawks did the night before, and her sleep mussed hair was only slightly longer and darker than the hair of my son's wig. I wondered whether my son had a similar picture in his head or if he had a picture at all. I watched him and he finally looked up at me, but his face was blank. He went back to his reading. I walked around the table, picked him up, and held him against my chest. I pressed my nose into that wig, and it smelled not like the clean shampoo scent I might have been hoping for, but like old lettuce. I suppose it didn't matter at that moment. My son put his smooth arms around my neck, and maybe for a few seconds, we were together again, the three of us. So this is a story that we call nonlinear. It does not go in a straight line, so you as a detective reading the story have to put the pieces back in the right order. Because they've told you a lot of things. You know that there were 3 people. You don't find that out, that this family was a family not of 2, but of 3. But you don't really find that out till kind of the second half of the story. You know there was a mom. You know, the mom used to sit at this breakfast table and they'd sit together as a family. The son is now sitting in his mom's place wearing a wig, a woman's wig. So you slowly start to get the idea the son is somehow acting in the place of the mom who is gone. And we don't know where she's gone. This is where we have to inference, where could the mother be? They both are missing her. They both wish she was there having that breakfast with them. She could have decided she didn't want to be a mom anymore and left the family. But there doesn't seem to be anger. And usually if somebody abandons you like that, there's often anger. So it seems like they're more sad. The way the dad's hugging the son at the end, they seem sad. So I'm going to use my inferencing skill to say the mom has died. They don't say that. But that is what I'm inferencing by the way they were reacting in that moment. So if I put this all together, in the way I see it, you have a family of three, very happy family that would eat together, that would go see hockey. The Blackhawks are a hockey team. So they would do sporting events together and really enjoy each other. They would read together as they have breakfast. The mother dies. I'm not sure if they really even talk about how they're feeling. The way that the dad doesn't talk to the son during the story, it sounds like they have not really talked and really grieved for the mom in an active way. So they both are missing mom and decide that they're going to do this. The son's going to do this thing. He's found an old wig. He's going to use that wig to kind of comfort himself with his mom being gone. The father kind of recognizes that's what my son is doing, and he decides he's not going to punish the son. He's not going to make him take that wig off. He's actually going to hug his son to him with that smelly wig as they both remember the mom who is gone. Okay, so that's an idea of how, when you read literature, this is not a story written for, young kids or high school kids. It's a story that was written and published in a major magazine. Okay, so this is something that adult readers, when you get stories, a lot of times they don't tell you every single little thing. You have to use inferencing to figure out, okay, what is that writer trying to talk about? What experience is he trying to talk about? Okay, so that's a little bit of using inferencing in real literature. And now let's get to our story of the bully again.